Welcome back to the Real Estate Huddle, and today we're excited to talk about a very important topic because there are a lot of people sitting on the fence. This has been one of the lowest volume years for sales in real estate since 1995. I just read that today. Unbelievable. So we've had the fewest people moving, and we claim that if you knew these two things, you would probably make a move. So we're gonna kick it off, and we're gonna start. Jackson had something that he wanted to say.
Oh, yeah. Wherever you live, your house is definitely on an ancient Indian burial ground. You should call me. I can help you with that. Also, the spirits will follow you if you use a different realtor, but if you use me, I can help.
That is not number one. That is not number one.
You should move.
All right. So the real number one. Nice try, Jackson. The real number one is that you can assume FHA loans and VA loans where a VA person is not going to continue with their VA eligibility, right?
So when you say assume, what does that mean?
Okay, so assuming a loan, that means that if someone like during the crazy pandemic got a rate that was like 2.25%, 2.75%, something like that, we've seen them even as low as like 2%. If someone has a rate like that and they got an FHA loan or a VA loan back then, that rate is assumable, right? And so what that means is if I'm a buyer who's looking at buying that person's house, then I could look into, well, what's their balance? If their balance is, let's say the house is worth $700,000 and their balance is $550, and I've got $150,000 for my down payment to make up the difference, then I could assume that $550 at 2 point whatever percent that it's at and take over the payments on that loan. So I'm basically just taking over their loan without reinitiating a new loan. And that's how that process works.
So I've got another question.
Yeah.
Now, rough numbers.
Smartass has another question. It's a question.
No, this is a good question. This is an actual educational question. So based off where the rate, so where are rates looking like? What do they look like today? We're
About
high fives.
5.9.
Yeah, high fives right now.
High fives.
Yep.
5.75 to 5.9 somewhere in
Yeah.
there.
I just at a closing this morning, I just saw the first rate that started with a 5 in like 2 years. So that was pretty cool.
And that's a good day.
Yeah.
So we're trending downward, obviously. So let's say, so we just went, we had somebody go under contract on a 2.25 rate, right?
Yep.
So what's going to be the difference in, let's for round numbers, $1 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's going to be the difference in your mortgage payment on $1 million home? No, like we'll keep the down payments out of it, but on $1 million home, what's your mortgage difference going to be between let's say 5.5 and 2.5? So a 3% difference. What's that going to look like? Is there a way that we can find that out?
Yes, there is. Okay. So if you go to a mortgage calculator online.
But at that level, it's probably $1,000.
I would say so. Yeah.
So like in this case, they were borrowing $730,000.
Okay.
So $730,000 at 2.25%. Their principal and interest was $3,174, right?
Yep.
So $3,174, add homeowners insurance and taxes on top of that. Their payment's probably going to be about $4,100, something like that, right? So in today's, let's just say 5.9%, right? On 730. Okay. Yeah, and 30-year fixed at 5.9. Your monthly payment, this is a 30-year loan, right?
Yep.
So your monthly payment on that would be $4,330. So that's $1,100 and some change.
Close to $1,200.
Over. Yeah.
So disclaimer, there aren't that many of these loans that can be assumed.
There's
The
not a
message
ton.
we're saying is it's not zero,
Yep.
and we can help you find them.
So as far as the loans that you can assume, it's few and far between. So first one's FHA loans. Almost all FHA loans are assumable.
What are FHA
What is
loans?
FHA, Spencer?
Yeah, what?
You tell us, Jackson. Go ahead.
Federal
You haven't spoken.
Housing
Yeah, they're-
Authority.
There you go.
Good. Several listeners that are wondering that, right?
Yeah.
So what does that mean, though? Federal Housing Authority.
It's more of a government-backed loan,
Okay.
right? So you have multiple programs within the government that give loans and give opportunities to. And a lot of these are going to be like, they're not just first-time home buyers, but a lot of people will use FHA loans for first-time home buyers because of down payment situations and rate situations, sometimes they can make it a little bit easier. However, there are some caveats that, like with mortgage
FHA
insurance
approval.
and FHA approval on whether it's the community that you're in or whatever. So it's a little bit different than conventional, where conventional is just pretty straightforward. So the FHA ones are almost always assumable, right? And then you have, which technically is another government-backed loan, is the VA loan, right? So most of your government-backed loans are going to be assumable.
VA stands for
Veterans Affairs, I believe.
Yep. So you have to be military, right? Past military to be able to get access to one of those loans. And there's certain benefits to it, right? Zero mortgage insurance. You have zero down requirements. So you can put no down payment. So there's some cool things that the government does to give benefits to our military. And they could be post, doesn't have to be active military. But eventually, after those people have owned a few homes and now they're ready to maybe go to a retirement home or live with family or do something like that, a lot of times they're willing to forego their VA eligibility and let somebody else assume that for them. So that's the only way a VA loan can be assumed, is if they're willing to forego
So that's
that.
worth noting that right now in the current market where we have higher inventory than we've had in
Yep.
12 years,
12 years. Yep.
less activity, so buyer friendly,
Yep.
that VA seller is more inclined to waive those rights today than they'll probably be in 6 months, where it's going to be much more of a balanced market.
Possibly. Yeah, I think it's probably more of a lifestyle decision or like a time decision for them as far as where they're at in their lifespan.
Well, but as
But-
their agent, we might be asking them that question
Yeah,
because it would help us sell their home.
definitely.
Do you have to be VA eligible to assume another VA loan?
No, you don't.
So long as they're able or they're willing to forego their benefit.
Yeah, that person's basically giving them their veteran rights, right, for that loan to this next person.
Which is a big deal.
But they can't keep it later, right? But yeah, you do not have to be military to assume it. So that's why it's such an opportunity. And so that's number one, right? Is if you could assume a loan and save on interest and basically go back in time in a time machine like Marty McFly to 2021, right? But no competition, right? Like we had in 2021, which was absurd. Then you can get one of these assumed loans. So we, as a team, Spencer.
So I was going to say, before you move on to number two.
Yeah.
So keep in mind, so assumable loans it's not overly common. So how many houses do we have on the market? We just pulled those numbers, right? Do you guys remember how many houses we have on the market?
10.5.
50.
Oh no, total?
No, I was not. Shut up, Jackson.
10.5.
Chad was right. 10,500.
Say that 10 times fast. Chad was right. Okay.
Chad was right.
Active homes.
But no, Jackson is right too. As far out of those 10,500 homes that we have in the Denver metro market, the only assumable loans that are available on the market now out of that 10,500 is what?
50.
50. Good job, Jackson.
So, and we have a list. You guys, our team has a list of those 50 homes that are assumable in today's market, which is changing every day. But we have a list of 50 homes that we can share with you. If you reach out to us on our channel, we've got ability to reach out. We'll put all of our information below so that you can reach out via text, email, or subscribe and comment to the channel, to this episode. We'll get back to you with that list of homes if you'd like that list of 50 assumable homes in the Denver metro area. All right. Anything else on assumption?
No, sorry, I interrupted you.
No,
Number
that's the key ingredient.
I've been thinking for 5 minutes in the back of my head, the old joke about when you assume you make an. And I couldn't figure it out, so have to let it go. But there was a good joke to be had. I just couldn't come up with it.
Oh, man. Keep trying.
Okay. Asset for just me, not you anymore, because I bought your house.
All right. So the reason number two why, if you knew this, you would be moving is that there are programs now that are very innovative, which allow you to basically do things backwards and go with the order of operations that's most convenient for you for a very little cost. And sometimes to your benefit. I would say most of the time to your benefit. So what we mean by that is there are a couple lenders who are offering a really cool program where it's a buy first, sell second program, right? And so what we mean by this is when you get into a program what you would do is, say you own a home that has a lot of equity in it, right? You've owned your home for 7, 8, 9 years. You got a killer interest rate, right? You've been telling everybody, bragging to all your friends, I'm never moving because I got a 2 something interest rate, right? So what we would do is we would basically take that equity that you've earned, right, over that time. That's hard-earned money in your home that your home is holding right now. And you would basically talk to a company, we know a couple of them, who will upfront the money for you to go purchase first. Go buy your house first. When we meet with people initially, especially families that have kids, dogs, cats, all kinds of pets and things in their house, right? Clutter. We recommend this program more often than not because it's such a great way for you to go buy first, get into your new place, get everything out of the old place, right? Stage it to perfection, do some work on it possibly, get it looking awesome so that you can sell for top dollar, okay? You guys have heard me say this over and over again, but buyers buy on emotion, right? And so
talk to the camera, not to us.
Yeah, it's such an emotional thing, right? When you're walking through a home with buyers, you can tell that they're feeling something, right? And if they're not feeling anything, they're probably not going to buy that house. But if they feel something because of the upgrades and what they see, right? A lot of times they will purchase that home, or if it fulfills a need, right, that they have.
So we've talked about these programs, I don't know, like 3 other times in different types of context. Mm-hmm. The other thing we talked about just in the last couple was this notion of, in that period of 21, the percentage of those buyers who were not satisfied with the outcome of that transaction. Mm-hmm. And why was it? Because it was really easy to sell their house and then they had to settle for the buy.
Yeah.
So when I think about this program, I always think about it's paying a nominal amount, and depending on what you're selling your house for, it can be a very nominal amount to get out of the pain and angst and stress of being forced to buy something you didn't fall in love with. So you fall in love first,
Yep.
and
you're paying for that.
You know what's funny about that fact is most of the assumables that we're seeing now come from that time frame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those 2 to 3% interest rates that we're seeing are all from those people that are like,
I've said it on this many times. That's my biggest fear. Like, I don't want to have to buy something I didn't love.
right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's everybody's biggest fear of putting their home on the market, because if you sell your house, you're obligated to that buyer to sell your house. You can't back out of that as a seller. And so when there's no turning back, now you know you have to go find the place based on homes that are available in the market. So what we're doing is we're flipping the coin on that and taking someone that has a home to sell and just saying, let's just go out and buy first. Let's just go out and look and see, find the correct home for you. That's not like Chad was describing, right? Those 82% of people in 2021 that bought a house, they weren't
crap.
happy.
I thought it was 47. It was 82%.
82%.
Oh my
yeah.
God.
Said that they were not happy with their home buying decision during the pandemic. So you have that vantage point. And by the way, like Chad mentioned earlier, inventory is at the highest rate since 2012. So you have 10,500 options in the market to choose from, which is so unique right now. And sellers who are very motivated to get their home sold that have been on the market for sometimes 100, 200 days, showing their house, dealing with, because they're not doing this program, right? They're dealing with having showings through with kids and pets and all that stuff. They are tired. They want this place, their place is gone and sold, right? So you have that vantage point at that point of getting a great deal on the purchase. Oh, and by the way, this program makes you a cash buyer. So you're walking in with cash, 100% cash, right? They front you 100% of the money to go buy this thing, okay?
So a couple of sides. So A, go deeper on why that's so important, and B, we keep talking about how this is such a small nominal amount. It's not nothing, though, so we should talk about the percentage.
Why is being a cash buyer important?
Well, it's obvious on some level, but people who don't think about it all day. But if there is 4 offers and one of them's cash, it's generally, all things being equal, a better offer.
Yeah, why is cash better, you guys? What do you think?
Because cash is king.
That's what people with cash say.
There is a true sentiment to that, though. But when comparing it to like a buyer that is pre-qualified for a loan, right? So you're dealing not only with the real estate transfer, but you're also dealing with the lending side as well in a non-cash transaction. When you're working with a cash transaction, it typically closes sooner because you don't have to go through the lending process.
So faster closing. That's
Yep.
one.
So faster closing. You don't have to worry about all the lending deadlines, the loan deadlines. You don't have to worry about appraisal in
Yep.
most cases,
No appraisal.
unless the buyer wants one, which typically they don't care.
Yep.
And then
That's
It's-
enough. Stop there.
I mean, honestly, that is. There's a couple other smaller ones, but
Yeah.
taking the lending side out of it is a huge thing for sellers. It's
Yeah.
just a huge peace of mind knowing like I'm just getting cash. We're going to close early. I don't have to deal with all the freaking lenders and all
Yeah.
that stuff, and it's just done.
And I would say even during inspection, like cash buyers typically, because they have 100% cash down, they're probably not worried about the GFCI that's not working, right? Or the dishwasher that's 8 years old, right? They're looking at big things typically.
Yep.
Go ahead, Jackson.
Yeah, I think it gives you leverage in a couple ways. Like you were saying, if you're a list agent looking at it, you know if it's a cash offer that they're not strapped for cash. They're not going to be trying to nickel and dime you later on because their client doesn't have the money and they're really stretching for that property. And then a cash offer just reduces risk. So every seller doesn't want to have the risk of you go under contract for the home and then something happens with your loan and then you back out of the deal.
Yep.
With cash, there's way less risk that they're going to end up backing out because something went wrong. And then with this program, I think it gives you leverage too, because if we're negotiating with somebody where we know, hey, this seller has to sell their house because they're already under contract to buy their next house. We know, let's say as a buyer's agent, that we have leverage in that negotiation to get our buyer more things, to negotiate harder, because those people are between a rock and a hard place where they say, oh, well, we already are looking, we're already under contract for our next home, so we have to sell our home because we're going to mess all of that up if we don't sell our home. So it just gives you a lot more flexibility and leverage in negotiations, having the option to buy first. You're not in a rush. You're not worried or preoccupied with a second deal going on at the same time.
Yep.
So I think it gives you leverage in a lot of ways.
100% better negotiating power. Yeah. But there is a cost to this, right? Being able to do something first and then sell second. And so we have our two options that we have. One of them is a fee on the purchase, right, of 1%. So whatever the purchase price is, 1% is what gets tacked onto that for the convenience fee of buying first and selling second. The other one that we have is a flat fee of $5,000 on the back end. So when you go to sell your home after you purchase, there's nothing on the purchase, but then on the back end, there's $5,000 of flat fee. So depending on which option is best for you, depending on the price point and where you're at, we can connect you with one of our lenders that does this program. But that is so cheap, you guys. This used to be like almost 2%, right? To do something like this. And that was a big convenience fee. A lot of people just passed on it because they're like, nah, I'm not doing that for $18,000, $19,000. Like that's too much for my convenience.
Yeah.
And I just saw a funny statistic that kind of will help you with this. So over the past 6 months, we've gained $50,000 in savings due to rate cuts, on
Yeah.
average.
The average buyer has $50,000 more in purchase power, right?
So think
Yep.
about that. That's
Go up.
easy. Another for a $700,000 house, $7,000, $10,000. I mean, to get into the house that you want, and think about that. That's where it comes down to. If you're really in a place to move it, or like you're growing out of your home, or you're whatever, and you want to use this program, think of, is it really worth it to you to get into your dream home for that fee, or is it worth trying to sell your home first, passing on some homes that are going to go under contract in that process because it's taking so long to sell a home,
Way more stress.
and then having to close on your house while possibly not even being under contract on the house that you want.
Yeah.
Right? It's a no-brainer
Yeah.
to me. And yeah, I know there's people out there that they're very financially conscious, right? And that's awesome. But I'd flip that coin and say, if you are financially conscious, this makes sense, right? It's that 1% to, it used to be 2% almost.
Yeah.
Now it's that 1%. It's just easy.
Well, and compare that to the people that we get calls a lot saying like, hey, can I just go make an offer contingent on my house selling even though it's not on the market yet? right? And that whole situation is like, so you want to be a beggar then, right? In that situation.
And that's a risky one.
Yeah.
I mean, you're potentially willing to risk your earnest money, which is anywhere from $7,000 to $15,000 in our market right now. So why not just freaking take that?
And that's a good way to say that.
And put it towards a cash buyer.
And my biggest thing is the only seller that's going to be interested in that deal is a seller that's overpriced.
100%.
And also feeling a little bit desperate. Like, okay, we don't have anything else. We know we're a little high, but if you'll do full price, then we'll wait for you to sell your house. That's fine.
We covered a lot of things there. So contingent sales are hard because they're not that interesting to the seller. Mm-hmm. The notion of having 50,000 more spending power, it's just take the fact that we have a lower interest rate, and now at the same what you can spend per month, you can now afford more house.
So the buyer that could afford $700,000 house now could afford $750
plus or minus,
based on the rate.
Which is a big jump.
Yeah.
I think I've used a variation of this with some clients just recently, thinking about the difference between the market we're in now that feels a little buyer-centric with where we think we're going to be in spring, which is going to be much more balanced and much more like that 21.
Yep.
The same house then is going to be, simple number, 50,000 more than it is today.
Right.
And you have a lot more control and leverage today.
Yep.
So a lot of numbers, similar amounts, but coming at it from different sides.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, no, it's a lot of information.
I was just thinking with that $5,000 cost, if we looked at it like competing, like let's say everything else being the same and we had a listing, if we got an offer from person A and they said, we'll give you $505,000, but we're contingent on selling our home. And then we have another offer that's using one of these programs and they say, we'll give you $500,000, so $5,000 less, but it's a cash offer. It's going to be a quick close. We're ready to go. Mm-hmm. I would probably recommend to my client, hey, let's go with the cash offer. It's $5,000 less, but we know that they're going to close. We know that they're good for it. We don't have to wait for all this contingent stuff that may or may not happen. Mm-hmm. So there's your $5,000 right there. Yep. Just in, all things being the same, that cash offer is kind of a stronger offer.
Plus, you don't have to pay the psychiatrist for all the stress that was created through doing it the conventional way. So yeah, it's huge. And we talked about the buying a house when your house is still needing to be on the market and stuff. The basically the detriments of doing that on the buy side, right? Because you're paying overpriced probably for that house. But then what happens when you get it under contract and you're on the clock to sell your house? You're reducing the price quickly. You're doing everything you can to get rid of that thing and fire sell that thing, right? So you're losing out in negotiations here and losing out in negotiations here. Yeah. Do you think you're going to make up $5,000 in convenience fee from doing both of those things? It's probably going to cost you a whole lot more. And so this is a great option. I hope that, if you're listening in and you've been thinking about moving to Denver from outside of the state, know that our lenders can do this across states. So they could help you buy a house here with cash, and then we can connect you to a great RE/MAX agent in your state, in your market, and you can sell your house there with this program. So that is one application to it. Do you have anything else?
I was just going to say one last thing, unless you have more stuff, but competition is coming, right? This whole conversation has been discussed of rates have come down. We're able to afford more. We have opportunities for you to get into a home now versus later if you have to sell a home. And right now is just the beginning of what's about to happen. Mm-hmm. So if you are having those questions or having any thought of buying and selling and all that kind of stuff, like get the ball rolling, because it's and I know the election's coming up and things like that, and that's kind of holding people in place for a little bit. But once things are done and settled, it's going to be it's potentially going to be another madhouse coming. So
I've been saying that a lot. I don't think as a buyer we'll ever have as friendly an environment as we have like right now for the next 2 months, because it's going to be very different.
If you buy now, you can refinance later. We've been saying it since we started this dang thing. Yeah. So
Think about it. In 29
happen.
years, right? Like what we opened with, in 29 years, we haven't seen this few homes move in the market, right? So when you have a market like that and not many people are buying and the number of homes on the market that are for sale are rising, right? Buying during that storm, right before the election, you may be able to get off with a lot better negotiation terms than not. So I think that's a great point. Last thing I'll say is if you are outside of the Denver metro area, which is where we work, we're real estate pros here in Denver metro. But if you're outside of this, right, let's say you're in Virginia or East Coast or West Coast, these programs can work for you too. So still reach out to us. We can get you connected with the right financial expert that has this program available. It's not just like area specific. So we can help you there as well. So thanks for listening. Please remember to subscribe. And then next week, please come back and watch if you're a local here, you're going to want to see our spotlight on one of the coolest places to go and frequent, Wash Park. And we're going to talk all about Wash Park next week. So if you have enjoyed what you're listening to and you'd like to hear more, make sure to press that subscribe button so that you can not miss out on any more episodes that are coming up. And also check out all of our contact information is below. You can see us at the dreamsmithteam.com to look up more information about our team and our history and all of the members of our team and see contact information that you can reach us if you have any real estate needs.
See you next time.